Good evening and welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the coach. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. He's not the coach, Philip Roybal, but instead our special guest from Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. JJ Kitchen, what's up, my guy?
Welcome to be on here, man. Talking college football on the best show there is, dude. It's crazy. We're already almost we're at what halfway through the season already, man. Time's flying, but it's fun.
More than halfway through the season. And if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment. Hall of Fame College Football. JJ, yeah, there's halfway through the season, lots of stuff going on. I mean, obviously with my Oklahoma Sooners, it's been a shit show. But it happens sometimes. We'll talk a little bit about some of the candidates. I think you're one of the guys that I like to talk to the most when it comes to coaching candidates. You're one of the few guys that knows as many coaches as I do. And so I like to talk a little bit about that with you. But I want to talk a lot about your Pitt Panthers and this amazing season that they've been on so far, man. Get into a little bit of we'll bust some chops with little shit talking on Texas and their fans. They're awesome fans, you know, that like to throw shit around on the field. And then I don't know, we'll just kind of play it by ear after that and kind of see how everything goes. Maybe a little Heisman talk, maybe a little pre-playoff talk, that kind of stuff. But I definitely want to get into some of this other stuff. What has been your take on what's going on in Norman, Oklahoma? No offense. A year after being top 5 in the country, no offense whatsoever, and looking like a tough finish to the season for Oklahoma, man.
I'll tell you what, I'm a little surprised, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, Seth Luttrell, I mean, he was actually a candidate up here, you know, when we were looking at him up towards Pitt.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that, one, he was obviously a superstar at North Texas. I mean, he was a hell of a football coach in terms of being a head coach, too.
Yeah.
But some things just don't work out.
You know? Yeah. And
Yeah. And just some things just don't work out. At the end of the day, I think that when it comes to a legitimate decision that's going to be coming up here for, you know, Brent Venables, and again, I'm a Brent Venables guy, but when you're at Oklahoma, the standards are high. I mean, the job at Oklahoma is to win football games, and right now he's not doing that. And while I think he's a great guy, I still think he's a great coach. He's got to get this hire right. He is really hiring for his job at this point. You know, I don't expect Oklahoma to fire him. You know what I mean? It's really his first year. Actually really struggling. I mean, to be honest with you. But he is certainly coaching for his job next season. I mean, he's got to hire a guy that really be outside the box, creative. I think there's a number of guys that are out there that'll certainly fit Oklahoma. You know, when you look at Oklahoma, there is no money problems. You know, they can pick whoever the hell they want. And I think one thing about Brent Venables, man, he was really honest this week, talked about the offensive line, how it's not where he wants it to be. But I think in this offseason, you'll see him really get aggressive in terms of the transfer portal. He'll go after guys that he needs to get after. He's a player's coach, but he's a guy that people want to play for. So for me personally, I'm not concerned yet. Look, everyone has a down year. I mean, hell, look at Alabama right now. They're nowhere near what they used to be with Nick Saban. They're going through a bunch of stuff right now, losing to Vanderbilt. I think right now, at the end of the day, I'm not concerned until next year. That's what I want to see who he hires going forward. But I expect him to coach his ass off the rest of the year.
Yeah, I agree. Chicken, welcome into the show. Sooner Legends. Stephen G, welcome in, everybody. Ben G, you as well. I'm glad everybody's in here. We're going to talk a little bit about everything, but we'll get started on this stuff. Obviously, yeah, I agree with you. I think that when it came to Seth, you know, I mean, he had the first 9-win season at North Texas in 40 years. And he backed it up with a second one. He called plays there. We know he did a great job when he was there at North Carolina, at Indiana.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of weird to see kind of where that headed. But the more we hear, I think what it really amounted to was that you had a situation where, how do I put this? Well, they were basically trying to marry two systems together. And when I say two systems, you've got the system that Seth has always run has been the true air raid, right? The Leach air raid. Of course, Jeff Lebby ran the veer and shoot, which is a RPO based distant cousin, is what I call it.
Yeah.
They're not the same thing. You're trying to marry two systems together. I think that was a mistake in and of itself. I'm hearing some things that I don't really want to put out there too much, but it doesn't sound like there was a whole lot of harmony within the co-offensive coordinator room. Now they go to for the time being as the interim play caller and co-OC it'd be Joe John Finley, which to me says you probably go back to all veer and shoot. It's something that they've basically run the past 2 years. A lot of new guys playing right now, so I don't know that necessarily helps, but at least if there's one voice and they're not it's harmonious in there, maybe there's an opportunity. I think that obviously this weekend going to the Grove is going to be tough. You've got a team coming off a loss in Ole Miss that there's probably going to be pretty pissed off, and they've got a lot of talent there, even though they've lost a couple of games already. I would feel like it's one of those things that has been a weird year, though. It has been a weird year, and as we're seeing right here, USC with 4 losses, Texas about to lose to Vandy and Florida. I like this person. Alabama.
I'll tell you what, if they do that'd be some funny ass shit right there.
It would be some good shit. Alabama already lost 2. It's a chaotic year. I do think this year could be the year that a non-shotgun pro style offenses start to decline. It wouldn't surprise me that much. I definitely don't think that's what they're doing at Alabama at this point. Banging chicks in Medellin. I like that. That's a freaking awesome name. What's up there, Rob077, Jimmy Satterfield, Sooner Brandon. Thank you guys for coming in. Who else we got? Okay. Well, I think a lot of people's have been, as far as this coordinator position is concerned, I don't think that they're going to keep Joe John around unless he somehow found a way to win out. He's probably the next one, but you got to have somebody to call plays the rest of the way. I don't see that happening. So there's candidates all around. Oklahoma is one of those jobs that you could probably get anybody. I'm going to toss out a few names. I want you to kind of give me your thoughts on that person. That we'll just go with my list of who I like the most. Starting off with, let's think. I've got a couple that I'm going to start off with, but let's start with, since it's in your neck of the woods anyway, on the team that you hate, one of the teams that you hate the most, Andy Koltenicki. What are your thoughts on Andy Koltenicki?
Well, first off, I can tell you this. Going forward, like you were saying before, it's got to be a one-man show. It can't be that co-offensive coordinator stuff. I didn't like that to begin with. I think if Seth was probably doing it on his own, it's probably a little bit different. But when you have too many voices, there's too many things going on, guys get confused. But what I can tell you is this. Andy Koltenicki, one, he's a hell of a football coach. And to be quite honest with you, I think he's a top 5 offensive coordinator in the country. What he's doing at Penn State right now, I think overall he's done a hell of a job from top to bottom. He's really developed Drew Aller into to be honest, an average quarterback into a great quarterback. We haven't seen him play Ohio State yet. We'll start to really judge him then. But Andy Koltenicki, when it comes to creativity in college football, he's truly one of the best. He's able to create mismatches across the board. He really runs an RPO type of spread, but also, too, loves to apply it into the run game. Okay, he's a guy who loves to be able to establish the run, but also, too, understands he knows what their team is good at. He'll come into any system, any team, and find out what they're good at, what they're bad at, and really use their strengths. Now, if they're able to get him to leave Penn State, that'd be a hell of a hire. The question is, though, I think to get him to leave Penn State, it's going to have to be a high dollar amount. It's going to be $2 million plus. And for what he needs to do, I think his next position, to be quite honest with you, I think he'd be a great fit down at Oklahoma, especially too in the SEC. There will certainly be people after him this offseason in terms of a head coaching position, but whether he wants to look at those jobs or not, depending upon who opens up, I think the job has to be right. It has to be really in a position to where it's really the SEC or the Big Ten because of where he's at right now. But overall, I think he would be a tremendous hire. You can get him away from Penn State. I think automatically you really put Oklahoma into a stratosphere to where you're in that top 5 conversation in the SEC. Absolutely. Because I think they have the talent. I think, Jackson Darnold is a guy who's actually pretty damn good. I just think he needs one voice, and I think he needs to understand the progression base of what he needs to go through in terms of a quarterback play. I think he needs one voice, a guy who's really coaching him hard and can really develop him at a high level. And I think Andy Koltenicki's one of those guys, but he needs one guy, one voice to teach him the system and really develop him over the spring season, the summer camp, in terms of OTAs during the summer, and then going to fall camp where you're kicking on all cylinders.
Well, and obviously that's going to all depend on if he ends up staying or not, which from what we're understanding, I don't know. I think he could stay. I think at this point, I'm looking at it as maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know that him getting the hook allows him, in this day and age of portal movement and the way it goes. I mean, he's got certainly a ton of suitors. He could go anywhere from this point. I've heard some things, through back channels that are saying, as long as they hire the right coordinator and he finishes the year as the starter, that you could end up seeing him back. But I do think that even if he does it, I think you only get one of these guys to stay probably. Whether it's Hawkins, whether it's Jackson. And I think, I've been pretty vocal in the fact that I think that Hawkins is the better player with the more upside. But I do like Jackson Arnold a ton, and I'm not heaping shit onto Jackson Arnold, believe that. I think he's really good. I think that he's got a long ways to go. And I don't think that it's anybody's fault the way that this has gone on when it comes to players. A lot of injuries. The offensive line has not had any push. As you said, you've got 2 voices in your ear or however many voices in your ear, and you don't know what the hell's going on. I feel like there's just been a lot of things that have kind of, worked together to kind of fuck them on this season. You know what I mean? It's just kind of offensively speaking anyway, because defensively they're as good as we've seen in 2 decades.
Yeah. And I think when you look at this, when you look at it from a perspective, you have multiple names in your head, especially too when you have co-offensive coordinators. You look at Brent Venables, a guy who came from a Dabo Sweeney system where Dabo was able to do it because he's a different style of head coach. He was doing it for so long. He's able to control the system and what goes through. When you look at Brent Venables, he's a defensive coach. Pat Narduzzi went through this stuff, especially too when he was obviously defensive coordinator at Michigan State. He comes to Pitt from there. He really chose one voice. He never went with multiple voices. He learned right away, especially at Michigan State, to say, hey, the co-offensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator doesn't work because you have multiple people trying to drag you from both sides. So I think overall, you get one voice in there. I think, for Jackson, for Darnold's sake, I think overall he needs to be able to know, if I'm going to come back to Oklahoma, I want one voice and I want to know who it is. And again, it's got to be a guy that's creative. It's got to be a guy that is really to establish the throwing marks, especially too in your passing game. Your passing game has to be effective. It has to be up there in terms of college football. So I think
order
overall,
to run the ball, you got to be able to pass it too, right? I mean, we've seen the inability to push the ball downfield so far, or maybe an unwillingness, whatever that the case may be. But I think that, a week ago he was trying not to fire anybody, at least not publicly. Although I think that was probably already happened. It feels like it had already happened, but it was going to be at the end of the year that they were going to stop doing it. After you go out there and get boat raced by, listen, no hate towards South Carolina, but you shouldn't lose that game at home by freaking a score 35-9 when actually you outgained them all the way. To have those turnovers and have 6 fumbles, get sacked 9 times, and as somebody put in the comments there, you got tight ends blocking All-American edge rushers. It's time for somebody's head's got to roll.
And obviously, I love college football, so I keep up with really everything when you're watching it. But when I saw them, I honestly understood losing to Texas because where they're at in terms of their program, what they were pushing through. I get it. But when I watched that South Carolina game, I'm like, that's not Oklahoma. That's not Oklahoma football. I was a little concerned about that, the lack of physicality, the lack of push up front on the offensive side of the ball. Right. But you can see the dysfunction. I think now with one voice, even though he may not be there next year and he probably won't be there next year, it's going to be a lot more fluent. You're going to have one voice going through there, one guy calling plays, one guy game planning. You're able to get that flow. Now, when it comes to the offensive line coach, I think there may be a change there towards the end of the season because, Venables will be coaching for his job in 2025. That's just going to be
but he's got Bill Beanbo, who's got a couple of 1 5-star locked in so far, I should say, and then the possibility of another one plus a guy that probably should be one. So he's got a really good class coming in. A couple of high level 4 stars, possibility of a 5-star, or you've got 1 5-star that's committed currently. Possibility of another 5-star that apparently is starting to look like he may be headed that way. So Bill Bedenbaugh, in my opinion, now you can get a lot of people at Oklahoma or Oklahoma fans that'll tell you he sucks. I ain't one of those guys. You ask Andy Reid what he thinks about Bill Bedenbaugh. He loves him. So He's got more draft picks in the league right now than any offensive line coach in the country. I think that no matter what happens, whoever this candidate is that you end up getting, you allow them the opportunity to get rid of everybody if if they want to. I think you kind of have to do that. My next guy that I would talk about, and I think that this is probably my favorite, is Will Stein at Oregon. I know that he's probably in the running to be a head coach sooner than later. That if he doesn't become a head coach this season, I think that this is one of the programs that could poach him away from Oregon. People are like, why would he leave Oregon? Because everybody leaves Oregon. And plus this is a blue blood. It's Oklahoma. It's the SEC. He's got ties to Texas already. I think it fits perfectly with him as far as, his recruiting ties and everything else. I think it's a perfect fit for Oklahoma.
And I think to your point, just to a fit, when you look at Will, he does a really great job. And again, creativity is your number one source. You want to be able to have creativity to know exactly how am I going to be able to move the football down the field with different aspects of the football game. Number two, you want to be able to walk into a building, look at your football team in the spring, and understand the pros and cons, and not have your football team adapt to your system, adapt your system to your football team. That's what really creates the best offensive coordinators in college football, and even especially in the NFL. When you look at these guys, you want a guy that can come in and adjust his system to the players that are there. If he's able to do that, you can be able to do it whatever the hell you want. Especially too, as you're on your spring practices. Your spring practice will be a little bit slower because you want to adapt your system and understand where do I need to adjust, where do I need to be to understand where these players need to go. But when you know your pros and your cons, your creativity, but also to adapting your system to the players that are currently there, you can have a lot of success. Will's done that at Oregon. He's done a really good job. Again, Dylan that's up there right now. Obviously, you guys know, former Oklahoma quarterback. Obviously, I liked him a lot. I loved him. I think he's a great quarterback, but guess what? I think Will's doing a really good job of developing him into that next level of a guy, to where you saw him what he was last year to this year.
On deep balls that he wasn't hitting last year.
Yeah. And I think you're watching a guy overall when it comes to schematically, he's going through progression-based offenses. He's understanding, okay, here's my point A. Here's where the play's supposed to go. Here's my check down. If it's not there, I'm able to take off. But when you're able to read progressions through a defense to where if you're playing too high, if you have a too high safety up top, if they're playing deep, especially too, you're understanding what you're going to call. If you're on with your offensive coordinator, if you're playing too deep high, whether you're playing quarters, whatever you have across the board, if you know you have that space in the middle, you're utilizing that middle of the defense. Get those safeties to move up, be able to hit the deep ball. He's now hitting those deep balls down both sides of the field, but obviously, too, being able to utilize the middle of the field so where you're able to create those mismatches, bring those safeties up, try to get them to play in the box, especially, too, when you're trying to run the football and be able to create those deep balls down the field.
Yeah, and I think that you've seen so much of that from him over the last few years. He's a guy that's been at Texas before I don't think he was the coordinator at that time, but he worked at UTSA with Jeff Traylor, which we know Jeff has done a great job. He's another one of those guys who might be a good candidate if he would be willing to leave his head coaching job at UTSA. I don't know that he would be, but I think that with Kenny, or not GJ Kenny, he was one of my next guys, but I think obviously with Will Stein, he's so, the offense, everything that he's done. You saw Bo Nix really take a step forward from Kenny Dillingham before that. He took a step forward last year and was in the Heisman race all the way to the end. Had it not been for the losses that they had to Washington, I think that Bo Nix probably wins the Heisman. Possibility that it happens, but I love the way that they do things there. I think that you see over and over and over again that these guys are doing very well offensively. I think the only thing that's been holding back Oregon has been their defense, and I think that it's definitely shored itself up over this year anyway. I mean, you got Mateo Uiagalelei just going crazy on the defensive line, so I think that they're definitely they proved that they could go up against somebody, one of the best teams in the country in Ohio State, and get a win. I like this guy. He's my number one guy. But as I was about to bring up, I like GJ Kinney as well, head coach at Texas State. He was at Incarnate Word with Cam Ward. You've seen Cam Ward take a step forward. We know that's not because of Mario Cristobal. Uh, so I think that, this is a guy that has had dynamic offenses pretty much everywhere he's been, they win. So I really like GJ as well. I think he's one of those guys that you catch him. He's an up and coming kind of guy. People in the players that have played for him love him. I just know that. So,
and I'm glad you mentioned him, because I actually have a name that's there that was on my list for this job, who I think will get an interview. And he's a young guy. I played against him in high school. He's a tremendous quarterback, played at UTSA. I mean, tremendous football player at North Allegheny here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But Texas State offensive coordinator Mac Leftwich. That's a name to watch. Okay, Mac Leftwich at Texas State. Potentially, you don't get you don't get DJ to leave there, especially Texas State. The one guy who will leave there and go to a place like Oklahoma is Mac Leftwich. If you guys don't know who that is, I suggest you do some research.
Tulane offensive coordinator, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this guy, let me tell you something. He's only a year older than me, so he's 31 years old. I'm 30. He's 31 years old. He will be a future head coach down the road, but this is a guy who's extremely, extremely creative. He calls plays on his own. The trust system that they have down there, go check out Texas State's overall games across the board. They actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they beat Arizona State this year. They beat a Big 12 team. They're almost averaging 60 points a game. If you watch their passing game, it's an all-out air raid offense, but they move at a fast pace. His creativity's there, but the one thing he does really well, he looks at the overall team and he understands the talent level that he has. I got news for you. If he's able to do it at Texas State with the level of talent that he has there, he's waiting for that right job. Oklahoma would be that right job. And I'm telling you right now, if Oklahoma's smart, you're down in the South, I'm telling you right now, a name to watch in that list who I know will get a call because I know enough people around there is Mac Leftwich. That's a guy to watch. Offensive coordinator at Texas State. The guy is a superstar. Again, I played against him up here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Quarterback at North Allegheny High School. Went down to UTSA, lit it up down there. He was a future coach in the making. He's doing a hell of a job in college football. He was honestly the second guy looking at Pitt was up here. Tremendous coach. And I suggest Oklahoma fans, go look him up. Mac Leftwich, offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Texas State.
He's at Texas State? I thought for some reason he was at Tulane.
Texas State. I'm sorry. Okay, Texas State.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I think that if you could go either place, you definitely could go there too. We were talking about the Tulane head coach too, man. That might be one of those. This is a guy that, man, he's just killed it everywhere he's been. He's got one of the top offenses in the country. Yeah. I think there's a lot of names out there that kind of fit that mold. You've been hearing a lot about Mike Shanahan in Indiana. You've been hearing a lot about. I actually Leftwich is somebody that we've talked about. It's on that list of names that you would look at.
Also, Mike Shanahan. Mike Shanahan up at Indiana is a former Pitt tight end. Obviously, we know him well. He's from the Pittsburgh area. A tremendous offensive coordinator, was a potential candidate here at Pitt as well. If you're able to get a guy like that, he coaches. He's not the quarterback coach. He's a wide receivers coach. So you'd probably go out and get a quarterback coach. But let me tell you something. The guy's creative. He comes from a Curt Cignetti system, a lot different than what we had here with Frank Cignetti and Curt Cignetti, two brothers, but completely two different offenses. Curt Cignetti is from the coaching tree of Nick Saban, was on Nick Saban's staff for 2 years, learned a lot from him, competitiveness, how to manage a team. He did a hell of a job at James Madison, put James Madison on the map first year Indiana. I'm telling you right now, there's a great point that you brought up. Mike Shanahan's a name that you want to watch. He coaches wide receivers at a high level, physical type of specimen. I'm telling you, he's up there as well.
I believe what they did in Nebraska this past week.
Oh,
I expected that to be at least competitive. They beat the brakes off of Matt Rule's team.
Because there is no let up with these guys. They're different. They are different specimen of coaches. They don't hold back. And if I had to bet, if they bring, if you look at a guy like Mike Shanahan, the quarterback coach who's up at Indiana, is Tino Sinceri, played quarterback here at Pitt. He's done a tremendous job. If you know Tino Sinceri, you're probably wondering, hey, does Sinceri sound familiar? The name is Sal Sinceri. His father is actually was a football coach at Alabama with Nick Saban for over 10 years. Won multiple national championships. His son, Sal Jr., played safety at Alabama, won 2 national titles there, played the National Football League, football family. At Oklahoma, this is the type of names you want to get around. They're football guys that care about winning. I'm telling you, there's some damn good names out there that Alabama, that Oklahoma can go after. And I think that overall, sometimes, again, I'm a big Will guy, like you said. I think Will's doing a tremendous job at Oregon. But there are some guys, when you know these coaches around the country, how they coach aggressively, but they're creative, younger guys where it's potentially a guy who can stay there 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Mac Leftwich, Mike Shanahan, Tino Sinceri, they're all connected. I'm telling you, they're damn good football coaches.
Yeah, listen, I think that, I mean, and I think that, somebody in here said, why are we talking about a coordinator?
No, you're not taking Cade Bell from me. I got news for you. You're not taking that shit from me.
I knew that was coming too. I left that for you for a reason, but somebody, I think it was the same guy. Who said that? Oh, Sooner in Texas says, so our savior is some OC from Texas State. We were playing SEC teams, not podunk you. Listen, you can say what you want. These guys got to start somewhere, but this guy is with GJ Kinney, and I can tell you right now, I would take him in a heartbeat. I think that's who they would try to get in a heartbeat, assuming if you think that GJ would take the job. I don't know that he would or he wouldn't, and I think he might, but you have to look at these guys that a lot of you guys are talking about people that are going to stay longer than a year or two, which I don't really have a problem with them staying 2 years because that means that you've done really well for that 2 years. And so that, they're sought after to be a head coach after that. I think that generally means that you've done well enough that you can continue going in that direction. I don't think I've ever seen a situation where Oklahoma should be worried about the next guy, because when you have the history, particularly just in the last 30 years or whatever, of the way that Oklahoma plays offense, that doesn't just go away. It went away this year. I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but I think that you would continue to have opportunities to just excel, especially if you get a guy that does a good job, myself.
And also too, Kalen DeBoer came from a Division II school in Iowa, went to the Power 4 conference in Washington, dominated. Another name that came from the FCS came out of New Hampshire. Name Chip Kelly. He went to Oregon, dominated. You guys, I'm telling you, you guys really don't understand. If you can coach offense, it doesn't matter what division you're in. I got news for you. You can score points. It does not matter. Okay.
Look, Kalen DeBoer came from South Dakota freaking State, and winning national championships there. He's everywhere he's been. They've been very good. So when he was the last coordinator at Indiana, it was one of their best years that they've had in a while. Then you also had, look at what he did when he got to Fresno State. It didn't take him long. He flipped that thing immediately, and he took a team at Washington that was 4-8 the year that he got there, and they went 25-3 the next 2 years.
With limited talent, went to the college football playoff.
And he came from nowhere. Nobody knew who the hell he was.
Yeah. And look, I understand right now his defense is struggling down there, and obviously they've had a couple losses. That's probably the lowest, Alabama's been ranked in a while. But then again, he's, there's only one Nick Saban. I got news for people. I mean, at the end of the day, there's one Nick Saban. That's why he's the go to college football. But I can promise you this, guys. I go around the country. I know. Hey, Jason, question: did the savior of the defense, current DC, come from?
K-State. So there you go. What I mean? And of course, he definitely worked at bigger programs throughout his career leading up to this. But you got to think, I mean, what was Clemson before Brent Venables got there? It takes putting the entire thing together, guys. And the main thing that you had to do to start with is you had to build a defense. Do I think that Brent Venables has put himself in a precarious situation? He has. They will not put up with losing like this, particularly this. You're hearing people say things like laughing stock of the SEC, and they haven't looked like anything but that really for the last few weeks. So what I would say is something needs to flip around. You need to see some improvement here as we finish up this year. I don't think that they would fire Brent until maybe next year, but don't think for 1 second that $40 million buyout keeps him here for more than a year, because it won't. He's going to, whoever this is, I get what people are saying. The concern is that you don't win right away. If they don't win right away, that they would get rid of Brent. Look, I think that either way you slice it, you got to go out there and win either way. I don't think it really matters. The scary part would be getting too far behind in the SEC, I guess. You know what I mean? Before you make that move.
Yeah. And I can tell you this from just personally I know numerous coaches around the country who are up and coming. And guess what? You're going to see a guy like like Mac Leftwich up here pretty soon. You're going to see a guy like Brennan Marion, who's at UNLV right now, putting up big points, beating teams in the Big 12, taking down teams. Hell, he's playing it. He's all across the board between there, the Big 10. He's done a good job. Mike Shanahan up in the Big 10. These guys know how to coach. And again, we took Cade Bell because his dad was obviously a Florida alum. It was a tremendous job in terms of creation of their offense in general. But we took it because a lot of the majority of teams that are in the SEC are running that offense. And guess what? Eli Holstein, the transfer from Alabama, I got news for you. I bet Alabama wish they had him right now because Jalen Milroe looks like shit. And so right now, that's all I know.
Yeah. Well, I think I think there's a few different things going on there. And you talk about a fan base that's is equally on the same, level as some of these Oklahoma fans that are just expectations sometimes can be a little out of whack, even for a blue blood. And I get it. I'm as much as anybody want to see Oklahoma return to the top. At some point, you do have to have a little bit of understanding and patience with some of this stuff. But I don't know. But you're not going to have too much patience. I can just tell you, it'll never be that way.
Yeah, not too much patience. But at the end of the day, you got to think sometimes get you over the hump. You got to think outside the box. I can tell you from numerous guys that are around the country, there are guys out there who are very creative. I mean, if you want to recycle guys through the whole box, like what the SEC kind of does on a numerous basis, that's great. But that's why they're stuck in a certain place.
Yeah.
When you look at guys across the board, the only one that was ever really successful that really brought in guys that were over and over again, but they were on the staff for at least a year, was Alabama. Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin that was there, Steve Sarkisian that was there, Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll wasn't there. He brought him from a whole different system out of the NFL, a guy who was sitting there as an analyst. Didn't even call plays before. Brought him to Alabama, was able to develop an offense, was there for a year, went back to the NFL as an offensive coordinator, then became a head coach the next year. I'm just telling you, there are guys around the country that are creative. You can coach offense. First off, to all the fans out there, calling an offensive game is a true art. Not everyone can do it. I got news for you. There are guys in the country that can do it.
Listen, we've seen that this year because there's a lot of things that have been happening, and again, you can talk about the offensive line, you can talk about all the receivers that have been injured, that has played into it as well. Let's not get it twisted. But when you see things like tight ends blocking, All-American type edge rushers, when you see things that just, nothing seems to be good, they don't seem like they ever stack anything. And as well as anybody that calling an offense, it's all building, right? You're building off of certain things. And so you haven't really seen anything that you can say this is their calling card, right? This is what they do. This is what they build off of, and it all flows from this set of plays or whatever, which is what you saw with a guy like Mike Leach. He had 11 plays. Now, they ran it from a lot of different looks, but he had 11 plays. Everything was built off of those few plays or whatever that he really kind of had as his foundation and out of that one set. But then from there, you do a lot of things. You've seen the same thing with guys like Lincoln Riley. I saw the joke in there a minute ago, Lisa. Haha, not happening. But we kick out Oklahoma fans for saying it because fuck Lincoln Riley. But he's one of the best coordinators there is. He learned how to run downhill, right? And all of it was still based off of a couple of plays. You've got one index card. It doesn't have to be overly sophisticated, but there's an art to it. And that was what was kind of killing it. I loved that you said that.
And also, too, when you look across the board, I saw some names in there. He may have been a horrible head coach, but I got news for you. The guy puts up points no matter who he faces. Dana Holgerson's there. Also, too, he's sitting on the couch right now. You know who else can score points? Gary Patterson. Gary Patterson's looking for that next opportunity. There are names out there that are truly great offensive coordinators, maybe not great head coaches, obviously. But when you look at the guys and they're able to score points, you either want to score points or you don't. When you look at the younger options, you've got the Mike Shanahans of the world, you've got the Mac Leftwich of the world. You have those younger options. Brennan Marion, a young option out there, but then you have the veteran guys. You've got those numerous guys, or even let's say out of Clemson. Look at Clemson this year, really turning it on. Finally, Dabo Swinney allowing Garrett Riley to run his offense. If he thinks he can run a better offense to where he can get more control, to where it's not just being held back, maybe you go after a guy like Garrett Riley. You can go after a guy like that. You look at a guy like Dana Holgerson, Gary Patterson, guys that are currently on those rosters. I think overall, the way the game's going, you have to be able to score points. Gary Patterson's on the Texas staff right now. He was helping them out. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know if TCU should have ever fired him. You still have those options out there. Numerous different options between older guys and younger guys, but you want to be able to have the option to be able to air raid the offense, but able to establish the run. But more importantly, be able to establish the offense around the personnel that you have. That's Absolutely. Why I think Andy Kotelnicki's still out there. If you're able to pay him and get him to leave Penn State, if he doesn't like the opportunity up there. Now, I will say this. He's been a diehard Penn State guy since he was a young kid, so it's going to be hard to get. But if you can drag him out of there, come to the SEC, potentially get a head coaching job in 2 years, then you offer that. But at the end of the day, there's options out there. Oklahoma is not a place that is going to be limited in options. But I think it would be disingenuous for Brent Venables to not look at different options between the different levels of football. These guys, if you can coach offense and you can score points, it doesn't matter where the hell you coach at. You go get that guy and you interview him and you listen to what he's saying. How can, especially in an interview, these interviews are like 6-7 hours long. Show me how you're able to establish my football team. Here's my quarterback. Here's my offensive line. Here's my wide receivers. How are you going to utilize the playmakers and the skill players on my team? Go. Show me. Over 7 hours of play calling, 7 hours of understanding what's currently there, you'll find out who the guy you want.
Yeah, listen, I think that, look, and we've already heard of, kind of back channeling and stuff, and some people that have reached out, right? Already to Oklahoma. There's going to be no shortage of big time candidates for this position.
Oh yeah,
they have to swing for the fences. I think if you're Brent Venables, the thought out there right now is that you mailed in the first time. That you melded in with the way that you wanted to do this. I think he was had an attempt at.
Also,
I don't know. He was attempting to kind of keep it to where they weren't having to make too many changes. But I do think that if you really wanted to stick with Levy's system, you should have just made Joe John the guy from the start, if that was the case. Because to me, Matt Wells was also in that position, or had an opportunity to be. He was up for the job. If you were going to, and he's better at play calling than I think that Seth ever was as a real air raid guy. You know what I mean? So I think that you should, I don't know why you don't just go with Matt Wells. I don't know. It had to have been one or the other. I'm with you. I don't love the idea of having a guy or having two guys. You know what I mean? I just don't love it.
It's got to be one. It's got to be one. Like even when you looked at North Carolina, that obviously we've been facing North Carolina for years. Their defense, Mac Brown could never get their defense going. That's why they could never get over the top. But their offense is under Sam Howell, who got drafted, and then Drake May, who went third overall in the draft. Who was his coordinator? Phil Longo. Phil Longo's up in Wisconsin. Maybe he doesn't like the system that's currently up there right now because they're trying to adapt from an all-running team to a pass game team. Phil Longo could easily go into Oklahoma and produce at least 30 to 40 points a game. He could tomorrow. Okay? You have a guy out there like that.
Yeah, Longo would be another one. And they hadn't been great at Wisconsin so far, right? I mean, and I think that that's a great idea. I hadn't really brought Phil Longo up. I like Phil Longo a lot. And I think that.
And another name, how about this? Maybe you want to go the head coaching route, get him to come back to big-time college football because he's done a hell of a job no matter where he's been, even at Ohio State. What about Kevin Wilson? Kevin Wilson has always scored 30 to 40 points per game. A guy who's
he was there before. This has been a job. I don't know that him and Brent are overly tight because they worked there together before.
Okay.
Yeah, and he didn't like it that Brent was always going full speed at his offense and stuff. I think some of that was there. I like Kevin Wilson. I think everybody likes Kevin Wilson. I don't know that they go backwards there. I think that they go in a different direction. Like I said, I don't think that there's a huge tie between those two guys. And there's a little bit of not bad blood, but it's not great. I don't think that they were necessarily, but I like Kevin Wilson a lot. I think he'd be a fine candidate for the job. I think you're looking at more when some of these young up and coming guys, though. I think that's where they're headed right now.
Yeah.
One of those things that I would expect. But you've got a lot of, as Jay said from Unfair Sports, you've already got a lot of agents that are contacting Oklahoma about this position. I think that that's clear. And I think that that's been going on probably even since before they made this this change at the top, with getting Seth Luttrell out of there. And a lot of people are saying this stuff, get me out of these OU ties. Look, I understand exactly what you guys are saying. And I think that more than anything, it's because it kind of sucks to have to, when you start kind of dissing and dogging on former Sooners. But I would think that here's my opinion, and I'm just going to put this out there. I think that they need to show something here, right? I don't want Zach Kittley. I don't want Zach Kittley at all. They've been wanting to kick his ass out of there for 2 years, Christopher Shannon. I'm not a big Zach
also,
Kittley.
too, another guy to watch who, no matter where he's gone, he's climbed the rankings into the group of 5 right now. He will be in the Power 4 probably next year, the year after that, because he's this good.
Man. I want you to talk about this guy.
Brennan Marion at UNLV. Yeah, obviously I know him. I know him from University of Pittsburgh. He was down at Howard, University of Pittsburgh, Texas, Hawaii. Now he's dominating at UNLV right now, but he got into a little bit of a jam, which is, I mean, he may be blackballed as a head coach for that. But a guy, Tim Cramsey. Tim Cramsey is the offensive coordinator at Memphis. Memphis in offense after Mike Norvell left. Memphis was 89th in the country in total offense. Do you know what they were last year? 21st. You know what they are this year? 13th. Right. They know how to score points. He knows how to put people in position to play. Brendan Marion, he's at UNLV. His offense is called the go-go offense. It's a lot different than what you'll normally see.
Weird. It's weird looking, but they run out of it and throw out of it. I like Brendan Marion.
What it is basically it's called a triple option spread. You have the triple option to be able to run the football, but then you have the spread to be able to throw the football. That's currently what you have.
I've seen a bunch of different formations that look wild out of it, but it's unbelievable.
To SDR, I would not give Kevin Johns an interview. I'm sorry, man. I would not be giving him an interview. He's running a pro-style offense. I mean, in the SEC, I guess, in the SEC, a lot of guys, especially too, when you had Todd Monken down at, Georgia, he did a tremendous job of running the pro-style offense, but you just can't. I'm telling you, Tim Cramsey at Memphis is a tremendous football coach.
I think it's tough to run. It's one thing if you're Georgia. And, I've heard a few people say, in fact, I saw this from Josh McCuistion said something about this earlier today on Twitter, that a lot of people were talking about going after their co-OC. I think he's their assistant head coach is what it is. He's not their play caller, though, Coley, at Georgia. I agree with what you're talking about, but if you're going to run a pro style, run over people kind of offense, you got to already be monstrous. And look, not to say
you better have great talent.
Look, they have some young guys on the line that freshmen this year, incoming freshmen next year, that I could see you headed in that direction. That's not a quick fix though for this thing, and I don't know that BV can do that, because you would probably a situation where you. I mean, again, I don't know that they win many more games this year. Maybe 1, 2 at the most, I think, is and that's if you're being generous, maybe 3. But I would tell you that's going to put him in this situation. You've got 2 losing seasons in 2 years or in 3 years. I would tell you that that's tough. No, and I know it was Damian Mackey talking about that, and I love Damian Mackey, and I agree with what he was saying. They recruit very well, but that's I love that idea if you have time to build that offense into what it has to be. And I don't know that you do. I don't know that you do if you're Brent Venables. I think you have to put a plug-and-play system in that can go out there and compete immediately, that can put points on the board immediately. And I don't know that you're going to go out there, learn the pro-style offense, and be able to just run people over.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I saw a name in there really right now too. Dan Mullen is still a really good name. Wasn't a tremendous head. He was a tremendous head.
I like Dan Mullen's name.
He was a great head coach. He was a great head coach at Mississippi State. He knows how to run an offense, especially too. If you're successful at Mississippi State in the SEC, I got news for you. You're a damn good coach, especially too on offense. What he was able to do, but also too, you've got those guys out there. But I also think when you look around the country, though, you want a guy that can come in. When you look at Oklahoma right now, I still haven't beaten. Obviously, they're going to beat Maine. I have them beating Missouri, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of an upset right now because it is at home. It's at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's going to beat Alabama. Just telling you right now. So you guys can hold on to that. You're welcome. You can come back to me and thank me when it happens. So you're welcome.
I hope it does happen, man. I'm not making that prediction just yet myself. I need to see something change a little bit because you got to score some. Look, the defense is going to put you in a position to win every game. I would tell you that. what I've seen out of this offense, even last week. I mean, and even, you can say what you want about Hawkins and how he played early on, whatever. But I would say that, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to expect it. It's tough to expect it. But man, I appreciate, going through all those with me and stuff. And I agree with you. I think a lot of these guys, I think there's a lot of guys that can come in. And Sooner Legend, you asked, is there somebody that can make an impact right away? Absolutely. I think any of the guys at the top of this list that we're talking about can make an impact right away. And that, I would say that includes Leftwich. We're talking, there's a reason why that guy, they've won everywhere they've been.
It doesn't matter where this kid goes. He knows how to win. And it comes down to how bad do you want to win. Pat Narduzzi was up here in Pitt, and he would never in a million years do we think he's going to hire a guy 31 years old. All of a sudden, we went from an offense that was scoring, 21 points a game. Mm-hmm. We're averaging now 42 points a game. I'm just telling you the way it is. I mean, these young guys are very understanding in terms of bringing their offense in and adapting it.
Plus, the other thing is you're expecting to get all these guys back. We've heard a lot of stuff in the last couple of days that, Nick Anderson should be back. It ended up being a torn. He had a torn muscle in his legs. So it's one of those things that he's out for the rest of the year, but you expect to get him back. If you get Deion Burks back, who you should have him back here in the next couple of weeks. If you get a guy like Jalil Farouk gets that medical red shirt, he's probably going to be back at the end of the season. So you add some of these guys. You're adding a dynamic running back in Torrey Blaylock coming in this year's recruiting class. You're adding some amazing offensive line talent. The main thing that I think that you have to focus on is getting the right guy. You go get one of these guys at the top of this list, and make no mistake, they'll get one of these guys at the top of the list. They could have got one of these guys at the top of the list we're talking about a couple of years ago, or last year. I mean,
yeah,
they could have done it. So it's not like it's a thing where you can't get it done. And just by virtue of this is Oklahoma. Plus, you think this defense is going to get worse? Because it isn't. It's going to get worse. It's going to get much better. It's going to get nastier. And I mean, he's adding dudes all the time. Even right now, though, they're starting to show themselves more and more as an elite defense. It doesn't show up as much because at some points you got to put some damn points on the board, or else the best defenses are going to give up something. There's nothing else you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
You only had 14 points that weren't off of those turnovers last week. Only 14. So if you're giving up an average of 14 points a game, there you go. You know what I mean? As far as Brennan Marion, talk a little bit more about him and the idea of it being gimmicky. I said this yesterday, and this is something that concerns me about a guy like Brennan Marion. I hadn't heard anybody say anything what you were talking about him ever being a head coach. I'm not sure and we don't really have to talk about that. But let's say he was going to get a head coaching job. That concerns me because he doesn't have a tree of guys that know the go-go. So if he leaves in a year or two because of it, that's a concern. I don't concern myself with anybody else, but I don't really I want them to have, continuity moving forward if they possibly can, if they're going to go in the same route that they were going anyway. What would your thoughts be about that?
I think overall, yeah. I mean, you look at the overall his history. He's jumped around a lot. Now he's been at UNLV for 3 years now. The biggest thing is, okay, let's say you run the go-go offense for 1 year. Let's say the worst case scenario, you run it for 1 year. Personally, I think if he goes to Oklahoma to be the offensive coordinator, he's not taking a group of 5 job. He's taking a P4 job. And I think it's going to take at least 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. At the end of the day, for me, obviously with the UNLV stuff, I heard a lot about what was going on behind the scenes. Guy being promised a certain amount of money, it wasn't paid. It was the discussion that didn't really happen. That kind of stuff happens. But at the end of the day,
I wasn't really thinking about that. I don't know what that is. And
the UNLV quarterback leaving.
Yeah,
that was him.
You think it was was it Brandon?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's going to be. So for me, I don't think he's going to get a head coaching job for a while. As to where someone hires him as an OC, he's going to be there for at least 3 or 4 years. I mean, that's what it comes down to. But me personally, though, I understand it because he was obviously people wanted him as a candidate here.
Right.
Again, I think he's a good coordinator in terms of being able to score points. It's proven he can score points. I mean, he's scoring points at a high rate.
And they run the ball very well, and they're very balanced. You know,
yeah, it's literally a triple option spread offense. I mean, it's triple option in the run, but it's a spread offense in the pass. So what he's doing is he's utilizing. Yeah, it's unreal. I mean, he's literally putting the best skill players on the field, finding ways to get them open, creating separation, and moving the ball down the field at a high efficiency. So he's doing a really good job. Now, me personally, I think a guy like right now, that's just for me personally, Mac Leftwich, when you look at him down in Texas right now, he's been in the South. He's recruited at a high level. He's developed talent. Especially too from the Power Four that has come down at Texas State. That's why they're winning a lot of their football games. But he knows how to adjust to talent. Brendan Marion can adjust to talent. He's done a really good job of that. Andy Kotelnicki's that's up there. He's done a really good job. Tim Cramsey at Memphis. He has done a really good job of developing talent.
I like that name. I hadn't really thought about Tim, but he's a really good coach.
I'm telling you, if you can win football games and develop talent at that level, what can you imagine what he can do at the Power 4 level when you're recruiting at a high level? If a guy can play games and win high-level football, especially, too, when he beat USC about 3 years ago when Helton was there, if you're able to beat those teams with lower-level talent, what do you think he's going to do with high-level talent? I'm just telling you, he's that good.
That's what I always say too. Now, and a lot of people will tell you, well, you know, but they don't know how to handle elite talent. They're used to those guys that you have to get the most out of them. They don't know how to handle elite talent.
Yeah, I think
it's bullshit too. But and I do think that you got to do anything you can to go get the best guy for this job. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
I don't know that at this point, to me, I think that Brendan Marion, if they wanted Brendan Marion, they'd have had him last year. I don't think that I would be surprised if they went that direction myself. That doesn't mean they don't, but I would be a little surprised if they did. And again, because it's such a big change, it's such a the triple option. Just thinking of it as the triple option is wild.
Yeah. You have two running backs. I mean, you look at his offense. It's a quarterback in the backfield with two running backs. There's two running backs, and then you obviously sometimes, especially too with his motions, you're able to bring a wide receiver or a tight end in the backfield, so where you have sometimes three running backs or two running backs with a tight end. The whole formation looks extremely different. You always have your 5 down linemen, but you're able to maneuver them in and out of the backfield to where sometimes you might be 5 wide, sometimes you might just be 1 wide, to where you have 4 guys in the backfield. Then you're able to shift them out, 2 guys out wide, 3 in the back. You have a tight end at the line of scrimmage, or you move them out. There's all kinds of stuff going on, especially with motions. My biggest thing is, though, when you look at Oklahoma, I don't expect Oklahoma to go in that way, to be honest with you. I think that when you look at guys,
if they wanted to, they would have. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that that's where they're headed.
And I think with Brent, he's going to go, well, he's going to have to think outside the box because he's going to get fired in a year if he doesn't figure it out. But at the end of the day, I think he goes into a route of a Mac Leftwich, a Tim Cramsey, an Andy Kotelnicki if he goes big. You Garrett Riley if he goes big. Kendall Briles if he goes big. There are guys out there that make sense.
Riley's not going to be that name. Riley's not. They will. After what Lincoln did, there will never be a Riley there. Never. Yeah. That's just. I mean, not happening. Yeah. I think Stein is one of those guys. I think that's probably where they're headed. They're Kotelnicki. I can see some of these other guys for sure. I think the Shanahan pick is another one that you look at what they've been doing over the last few weeks. He's done really, really well this year. I mean, damn. When's the last time you saw Indiana be this?
70s or 80s?
I mean, yeah. I don't even remember it. I mean, they had that a couple years back. They were decent or whatever. Yeah. Well, it was when Kalen DeBoer was there as their coordinator.
Kalen DeBoer, and then they had Michael Penix there.
Right, and then Kane Womack was their defensive coordinator there as well. So that's kind of where that ended up starting. But Lane Kiffin, if he gets fired from Ole Miss, that's your best OC. He's not getting fired. If he's going to leave to go to Florida, possibly.
Yeah.
But I don't see that. They're not firing him from Ole Miss. He's averaged 10 wins.
Yeah, but it's the best Ole Miss has ever done.
They may not dump a shit ton of money in the NIL again if they don't pick it up here in the next few games. But if you think of who Ole Miss has been, aside from those few years under Hugh Freeze, Ole Miss is trash.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm not bullshitting about it. I'm not even talking shit. I'm just saying they suck.
Even be honest, when Hugh Freeze was there, he had those couple wins, obviously, against Alabama. Besides that, though, they never
they
won.
Always underachieved still, right?
Lane Kiffin has actually won some serious games. Yeah, he's won serious games there. He will never get fired there. If anything, he goes to Florida, or I think when that job opens up, and I know he wants it bad. He wanted it bad when it opened up. Alabama, he wanted the Alabama job so bad. He wanted it so bad. And if Kalen DeBoer doesn't work out, I wouldn't be shocked if Lane Kiffin gets that job.
No, I mean, not taking the Auburn job whenever he probably had the opportunity to do it
was smart. Auburn's
smart on it. Well, because you can't do one and the other. That'll never. If you're an Auburn coach, you'll never get the Alabama job. That's just a fact.
And Auburn, I got news for you. Anybody who's intelligent will never take the Auburn job while their donors are involved. That job is just a career ending. Career ending. I mean, I know coaches that have coached there, Cadillac, all them guys. I'm telling you that there is no reason to be a head coach there. There is too many talking heads there. There's too many people involved. They've always got some shit they're saying about people. Yeah. Brian Harsin, they started that rumor about him and his assistant so that they could fucking fire him for cause. Yeah. And it turns out that's not what was going on. No. That was a whole facade. It was all bullshit. At the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says. Brian Harson's not a bad dude.
I'd see the shit out of Auburn if I was Brian Harsin, dude.
Yeah. And Brian Harson's not a bad dude. I got news for you. He was there a year and a half, and they were happy that he was losing right away. Well, guess what? Now you get your guy. You have your guy in Hugh Freeze. Look what he's doing. Brian Harsin has been ranked more in the top 25 than Hugh Freeze has in his first 2 years. That's a bad rap university to be a part of. I would never personally, my friends in coaching, ever advise them to go to Auburn, ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you, man. I don't disagree with that. All right, let's see. Yeah, and no tech ties for me, thank you, and particularly not that one. Cliff Kingsbury, no. Mr. Fail Up, no, don't want him. I'm good on that. Good on that one. All right, we can move on. That's what's gotten us, brother, last in the NCAA. Yeah. What do you got?
The only thing, brother, I actually have to jump off, so I have to go to the gym.
Okay, brother. I was going to ask you one more thing. Just let me ask you this last thing, and then you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Ashton Jeanty, killing it at Boise State. It looks like he may get over 2,000 yards rushing this season. Playing in the Mountain West, though. If all things are equal, can he still win the Heisman Trophy?
Yes. And I don't care what anybody says. Personally, should Boise State be ranked in the top 25? I say no. But when it comes to individual stats, look around the country, look at the MAC, look at the Mountain West, any of the group of fives. Has that ever happened before? The answer is no. If you rush for over 2,000 yards, you are making shit happen. I mean, that kid is a special player. He'll be at Boise State this year. He's going to leave after this year. I mean, that's a proven fact. I mean, he will not be there next year. I'm telling you, no, Steven, no, we will not be friends. I'm just kidding.
I knew this shit was coming. Yeah.
No, so actually, if he does, I love Cade, but if he went to Oklahoma, I'd be happy for him. But I can tell you this right now, though.
It'd be a little touchy for a while. I'm gonna tell you.
Oh, I would be like, you son of a bitch.
I have no pull on this, just so everybody understands. I have no pull.
All I know is this, man. When you look at Jenny right now, that kid really should be in New York, and he should be in consideration. I mean, at least be in consideration. I think he's that good of a player.
He's a baller, right? The guy's just.
He'll be in the SEC next year. He will be in the SEC.
Yeah, I think he will too. I think that he came into a situation. I mean, and listen, what he did against that Oregon defense, which has been really good. As we said, and he had a hell of a game there. He kept them in that game. It was all they could do to win that damn football game. And that was in Autzen Stadium. So yeah, tough game. Man, I appreciate you coming in, my guy. It's good to see you. It's been too long since we got together, man. We're gonna have to do it more often.
I know, man. Trust me, with work and everything like that, it was so nice to finally sit down and talk some football. Obviously, to the fans that are in the
Hey,
group chat, thank you
didn't
guys
even give
always
us
for the
nothing
tremendous questions.
about Pitt, though, brother. What's going on? Are they going to win the ACC? You got to at least give me that.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting. Do I think they win the SEC? I don't. The only reason why is that I think Clemson is a
Well, I
for
don't think you
real
win the
deal, man.
SEC
Clemson's
either.
Clemson's
I don't
clicking
think
on
you
all
win
cylinders.
the SEC, but the ACC is doable, right? No,
Yeah.
you said SEC. I'm just busting.
Oh, my bad. I meant ACC. They will. I don't think they'll win the ACC. I think they finish out with 1 or 2 losses. One of them coming to Clemson. I think Clemson, that game, they'll be here in Pittsburgh. We beat them 2 years ago here in Pittsburgh. I think that team just top to bottom right now. I think Miami's had a couple good calls here and there. Obviously, their offense can score at will. I mean, their offense is something to be reckoned with. But overall, the ACC has been pretty competitive this year. I watch these teams every single week. SMU, they make a quarterback change, they look a whole different team. Miami, Cam Ward's playing out of his mind right now. Kate Klubnik at Clemson's playing out of his mind right now. Pitt and Eli Holstein playing out of their mind right now. We got a 5-1 Syracuse coming in here on Thursday night. It'll be fun to watch that game, but overall,
Eli's
right
been
now,
really good, right? Eli's been really good for you guys. What a pickup in the portal for you guys,
brother. Alabama transfer, and I remember watching his tape, and I remember the guy when he hit the portal. People were telling me right away when I was getting calls. They said, JJ, he will go to Pitt and he will play lights out. He will play lights out. They said this kid can play right now. But when you look at Alabama, they just had a lot of talent there. They wanted Jalen Milrose. I get it, whatever. At the end of the day, though, Eli Holstein, he's throwing, besides last week against Cal, just had that redshirt freshman moment. But every game besides that, threw for over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns a game. I mean, the guy is just, he says he has, the one thing I love about him, he says he has the Bubba Yaga mindset, the John Wick mindset. He's not the guy, they don't send the boogeyman to kill him. He's the one who goes after and kills the boogeyman. That's the type of mindset he has. I love that. That's that Pitt mindset, just tough to the grindstone. Pitt's defense really picked up last week. It's been good, man. And it's just, I give credit to Pat Narduzzi, man.
He went for you, man, right? I mean, because you've had some good seasons lately under Pat Narduzzi, but
2021, you win the ACC, you win 11 games.
Last year, nobody would have expected this. And it's been what, 93 was the last time? 93, 94 was the last time you started off like 5-0 or better?
6-0. 6-0 or better, because we were 5-0. We were 5-0 in 2003, I think it was. And then now since 6-0 for the first time since 1982. I mean, it's
holy shit, I was even longer than I thought. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just right now between 21 having a Heisman candidate, you went 11 wins, and 22 you had 9 wins. You beat a ranked team in the bowl game. Last year was absolutely horrendous, the worst quarterback play we've had since the 70s. I can tell you this right now, man. It's just congrats, shout out to Pat Narduzzi, man. He's a hardcore defensive guy, but he understood, you know what? I'm going to go with a young guy who's creative, and it has worked out. Our offense is completely different, up-tempo spread. I mean, just the guy's absolutely phenomenal. And just, shout out to Cade Bell. These guys, these young dudes, man, they know what they're doing. All it takes is one guy to get to make the right hire. And I'll tell you what, he's a good dude. And Eli Holstein comes from a good family, and he loves it here. I can tell you that.
Oh, I'm excited for you, my guy. Really am. I'm excited for you. And again, love having you in here. I could not let you get out of here without letting you talk about Pitt for a second, but get out there and go get your pump on, and we'll catch you here soon. Appreciate you,
Thank you, guys. As always, make sure you support this show. Coach and Jason are the best. The Hall of Fame College Football Podcast is the best. I don't go on a lot of podcasts. I have to come on this one because this is truly one of the best. Fanatic Network. I mean, the whole thing, it's so good. You guys are always great with incredible questions. If you guys need to find me, I'm over at Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen on Twitter, JJ_Kitchen40. Until next time, be good, fellas. As always and forever, hail to Pitt.
See you
guys next time.
See you later, man. All right, man. JJ Kitchen from Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. He is one of our favorites around here. You can find him at Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. It's in the description now. Make sure you get over there, subscribe to his channel. He just hit 1,000 recently. Love having him in. This guy has connections all around the country. He's smart. He loves the game. And I didn't even get to tell him, but shout out to his brother Austin Kitchen, who's been in the majors. I think he's still with the Marlins. He's been killing it down there with the Marlins. So been excited about the way he finished off his season. And looking forward to things are going really good for JJ, man. He's just been kicking ass. So we appreciate him. for coming in. Get them muscles for Tequila Cowboy girls. That's some funny shit. Kimberly K, well, you talking a lot of smack on me there here today. Pentecostal preacher, huh? Dismissed this poor man 3 times already. Come on now. I couldn't let him get away. Couldn't let him get away without talking about those couple of things. Let's see. All right, breaking news. Oh yeah, chicken is going to be offered by Josie Garden, the water boy. Perfect. All right. So I meant to do this already, but I'm going to put a poll into here. I want to put a poll in. Let's go with who's your choice for offensive coordinator? You know what? I'm not going to do a poll because I'm going to end up having to type too many of them in. Just give me who you want. Give me who you want in here. At the end of the show, I'm going to randomly pick somebody that gave me one. Got to be a member for this though, and then I'm going to give away a T-shirt. I'll give away 2 T-shirts for a couple of different offensive coordinator selections. So we'll give away 2 T-shirts. And no, you don't have to be a member. Actually, if you're here, you're awesome. We'll take care of that there. Kimberly K, you're funny, all right. Yep. Eric Cooper for OC. That's not going to win anything. You know, come on. Will Stein. I would have exercised him. All right. Indiana offensive coordinator, that would be Mike Shanahan. JJ does know ball. Absolutely knows ball. No doubt. Way too many options for a poll. Yeah, I'm not going to deal with that. Not going to deal with that. Oh, speaking of polls, though, and we're a little short on votes. I got to tell you guys, you're letting me down on this a little bit on the poll. I haven't gotten the graphic done, but I do want to go ahead and release the results of the poll. When my mother is doing the poll and I've got people that aren't doing it, that are members, it bothers me. Really bothers me. But anyway, let's see. Like chicken. Let's see the results. Mark Leftwich, Jay Coley, Stephen G. Well, you already have them. You already did it. So I'm not even talking about you at this point, Stephen G. We ended up with 11 votes, though. Come on. Actually, we got to do the 12th one here because I didn't even put my name because I was waiting on all of you guys. Damn it. I need to do mine. Hold. Nah, I'm going to, you know what? I'll be back on in the morning. I'll just release it all then. So if you have a link or can get into the Discord and like vote, you should maybe do that because I'll extend it until the morning. Go ahead and vote as you normally would. It'd be great if we at least had 20 voters. 20 voters. All right. Leftwich, Coley, Leftwich, Stein. Another left. Hey, more people are talking Leftwich than anybody else. I like it. I'm Stein. You can go with Stein for me. Don't forget to rank Tennessee. Oh, you want? Oh, yeah. Thanks, Rami, for putting that in. I'll put them in. I know you did. Sooner, Brandon. I appreciate it. I saw it in there. I see it when I get them. I can tell you who did. Actually, I can tell you who did right now. I don't know who BL Web 79 is though. I'm not positive who that is. But JJ votes in it. Sooner Brandon did. Seawalk, the realist did. My mother, the Nani. Stephen G, Lisa, Brinsky. We had Sooner Legends, Cody Stovall, old Cody Light voted, and Bishop Frank. That's it. The rest of y'all can kiss my butt. No, I'm just kidding. Steiner Willie Corn says Stephen G. Keith Heckendorf from Arkansas State and Butch Jones. That's who you like? That's you. Okay. Hey, I'm a dick. I'm over here doing extra work, trying to give you guys, some good content and see how you guys go. All right. You guys got some of you people in there have them. You knew I was messing with me. Yeah, I knew you were messing with me because you know what I think about Cliffy. Oh, Cliffy's trash. Trash. Not having it. I like him about as much as I like Lincoln. About as much as I like Lincoln. What poll where was getting kids in bed? The Hall of Fame college football poll. Yeah. So you probably, I don't think that you got one, right? Why would Will Stein come to Oklahoma? I think the reason is the same reason that I was talking about before, right? Where did I just see that? I'm not a coaching selection. That's funny. Sean Riggins asks, why would Will Stein come to Oklahoma? I mean, I wish he would, but I don't know why he would. I think the connections to Texas, vicinity to there, the name Oklahoma. Look, for all the talk about Oregon, they haven't won shit. It's not Oklahoma, and everybody keeps thinking nobody's going to leave there. And Dan Lanning has everybody thinking that he got offered the job at Alabama when he did not. So he didn't have the opportunity to go to Alabama and turn it down. Everybody else leaves Oregon when nobody thinks they're going to leave Oregon. I mean, Mario Cristobal was winning. They weren't trying to fire him. He took it. He went to Miami. I get it that he went to Miami himself. Everybody leaves Oregon. That's why. And I think that, I think it's a good fit. You have the ability to go run your own thing. I think that the money would be right on par with what it's going to be, with what you're going to get anywhere. It's not like I guess they can overpay, but so can Oklahoma. And I think that playing in the SEC, I don't think that he's necessarily a Big Ten guy. And we still haven't seen them go on the road and have to slog one out. I mean, they played Purdue last week. So, not for nothing, but it's Purdue. So we'll see kind of what they do when they get into one of those knockdown, drag-out fights on the road, which I don't know that they really have one this year. But in the end, I just think myself, I think you could get him to go. Now, is he guaranteed? No. But it is what it is. If they win the Natty, he becomes head coach somewhere. They're not winning the Natty. You really believe in Oregon to win the Natty? Come on now. Come on. Ain't no way. Yeah. What? What did you say? He can recruit. They're fine at recruiting. You get the recruiting arm behind you too of Oklahoma, the brand, all that stuff. There's a reason why. And if you're talking about the running backs coach, Rashad Sam, part of the reason that I think that you want to get a guy like Stein is because you maybe get him to come with them. Because that's a big recruiting push. And then here's the thing: you need a coordinator that's going to be able to bring an entire staff. Whether or not they get rid of everybody or not is irrelevant. I would hope that maybe they would even consider keeping Beatonbow around. But the facts are, you have to allow this guy, and that's the other thing. You got to allow this guy to bring his entire staff on his own. So it is what it is. I would love to see Johns turn the season around and make us workable. Yeah. Is it going to be Johns or not? I don't know. I think it's going to be. They're going to make that look like it's probably going to make that look like it's Joe John, because he'll be the one calling the plays. I did not. I did not. I hadn't seen it yet. I was working until right before the show. So I just got here. I hadn't had an opportunity to look at all that stuff just yet, but I knew you have his, I know you got his ear. I get it. I get it. I get it. So tell us what you're hearing. Tell us what you're hearing. I'm hiring LMOY Fender Bender. Who's the hell is that? And keep EJ. I'd like to see him. I think that that's a possibility too, because of the fact that he's got such great connections in Dallas as well. I don't think you have to let anybody go. I think that you have to give them the opportunity to do whatever they want if you want to get the right guy. I still like Colton Hickey a lot too. I think it's 1-1A for me. And I guess if he's a Penn State guy, maybe that's a little tougher than I think. I don't know that it's that hard to get a guy from Penn State otherwise, but maybe he wants to be in the Big Ten. And that's where I also think Stein is more of an SEC guy than he is a Big Ten guy. And that's yeah, exactly. As an OC, why would you not want to come to Oklahoma? Because that's the other thing. You don't have to go out there and be perfect every week. This is a situation for a coordinator that you get to look good. And without averaging 40, you can have an even, balanced attack that goes out there and does good things, but you don't have to win the game every week. You know what I mean? I'm gonna laugh my ass off if OU beats Ole Miss with JJF calling plays. Look, here's the deal on that. We're hearing some things, man. We're hearing some things from a lot of different angles. I've heard a lot of stuff about there was something going on in that locker room that it feels to me like that wasn't harmonious between JJF and Seth Luttrell. I think there was some stuff going on there. I don't know how well Seth Luttrell was getting along with any of the coaching staff, to be quite honest with you. Look, there's a lot of politics that go on in locker rooms. There are. And personalities are different and they clash sometimes, man. It's football. There's a lot of high energy in that situation. So I would just tell you that the possibility is that you end up maybe they're better. Maybe they're better just by the simple fact of them getting it out there and having a little harmony back there, being on the same page. So I hope that that's the case. Am I going to sit here and bet on it? No. I got to see it. Seth is a no-nonsense guy. Yeah, except for when he's calling plays, I guess, because it's nonsense that, a lot of that shit was nonsensical. You know what I mean? I don't know. And I think you got to be more of a player's coach as an offensive guy at this point. And somebody that gets along with everybody. And it just doesn't seem like that's what was going on, really, We win 3 out of the next 5. Pick your 3. Well, if we're talking 3 out of the next 5, one of them is going to be Maine. Mizzou. Ole Miss. Don't do it. Have a little harmony back there like a VIP. Oh, that was a good one. That's a good one. I'm not going to really talk about it, but that was a good one, Ryman. I like it. Just a weird hire. Seth was kind of a weird. I mean, to me, I think you go with Matt Wells. If that was who you landed on as your last 2, which I understand why people are saying he mailed it in, because if that's your last 2 candidates, when there was, you could have gotten any of those guys. You could have gotten Colton Hickey, or maybe not. Maybe he was waiting for that job. Maybe he was waiting for that job. I don't know. Art Briles, yeah, right. Come on. Oh, looky there. I've already told you guys that's going to get you popped. You got to go, my man. You got to go. No Lincoln Riley stuff on the channel. Timing out for 30 minutes. Pal. Bye. told you guys, I don't play. Don't do it. Stop bringing them up. I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about Kel Gundy either. Stop bringing them up. Asking for the QBs to not regress each week. Me too. It's a very important piece. Very important piece to it. Got to get one so everybody knows, that I'm not full of shit. Let's see. Well, you completely outgained South Carolina. Sellers threw for 180 and they had 74 on the ground. No, I know. I was looking at that earlier. And as a matter of fact, I was about to pull it up. Where the hell? I thought I had that up already on the screen. Oh, I'll get it now. Let's go to the stats. So now, see, that's funny, but but no, that I'm not going to kick you. But yeah, mediocre Mike that isn't even like pulling off mediocre anymore. Nah, he's not good. He's no good. Go back to last week. Yeah, this was tough to look. It's tough to look at. I was looking at this yesterday. What a deal. Probably went with Latrell. Michael says we probably went with Latrell because his offense was similar to Levy's. They both ran the veer and shoot with their own differences, and it was familiar. No, Latrell didn't run the veer and shoot. He ran the actual air raid. I'm sorry, the Leach air raid. He's been a Leach air raid guy, and they're not that similar. I call it the RPO based distant cousin of the Leach air raid, and this is why it hasn't worked. I think the marriage of those two, of the system was really what the veer and shoot became. It was the marriage of Art Briles' system that he was running back in the day at South Lake Carroll, even to what it ended up being from UNT and then Houston and then finally at Baylor where they called it the Bear Raid. So it was a spin off of it, but they were trying to add in the same stuff and it's just a bunch of weird shit, right? But I just think you either go with one or the other, right? You got to go with one or the other. So it is what it is. What Shawty said. Angie took his medicine with a straight face. What medicine? What happened? What'd you guys do? Oh man, yeah, he's at Oklahoma, man. He's in school at Oklahoma to become a journalist, as a matter of fact. What I do, Shawty? How you doing, man? How was Protect the Hedges? Well, never had a chance to be in the game. Yeah, no, I mean, because you look at it. Look, Lenore Sellers 16 to 24. They were a total of 17 to 27 for 180. Rocket Sanders had that touchdown, but he had 15 carries for 33 yards. Look, they averaged 2.2 yards per rush. You can't afford to get behind like that and not be able to put up any points. But had they had an offense that could put up the points still, they might have come back and won the damn thing because they still outgained them. With that putrid offense, they still outgained them. Jackson Arnold, though, only 18 to 36. He had a touchdown, no turnovers. Javonte, 17 carries for 70 yards. You had, obviously, Jacob Jordan, huge day for number 88, 6 receptions for 86 yards, 27-yarder. And then, Brennan Thompson getting that 54-yard touchdown catch as well. So, right. I bet he would. I would never do it with him. Who are we talking about? Bama YouTuber? Is that what you're calling the outlaw? That's funny shit. Nobody from Bama watches this show. Yeah, it was the play calling was straight nonsense, straight up nonsense, no doubt about it, bro. It's just been nonsensical all the way around, and I don't understand it. You know, I mean, it's simple things like just don't put a fucking tight end on the edge rusher, all-American type edge rusher that's getting to your quarterback. That 9 sacks. I wonder why. Can't blame it on the offensive line when the no offensive lineman's actually doing the blocking. It's fucking insane. It does seem like Brennan Marion, by experts, was going to be the OC last year. You're hearing a bunch of people wanting him after the season. Would his go offense work? I think offense can work anywhere. My concern is, like I told you guys before, it's not about the go that worries me. He's had a tendency to jump around a little bit, but the thing is, and maybe I don't know with whatever happened with with that UNLV quarterback, if that had to do with him, that could maybe hurt his chances of getting a head coaching job. They still get him. I mean, shit. Look, if you think you can win, you'll hire anybody if you think they're going to win. And how do I know? Hugh Freeze, Bobby Petrino. I mean, somebody asked me about Bobby Petrino. I don't know that they're going to fire those guys yet at Arkansas. They may, but I don't know that they are. I think that they've done a pretty good job offensively this year. I think that there's a few things that they could get better at, but they've got 2 really good quarterbacks at Arkansas, and Bobby P does really well with them. Get a second year with them. I don't really know that they're looking to make a move at this point. Now, there's still there's a few games to play that they could probably get themselves fired there. But so would that be a real option? I don't know. Where is Sippin' Sooner at? You know what? He's working a lot. I wish Sippin' Sooner would come in with me. I was supposed to have him on a few weeks ago. Wasn't able to get him in that morning. So, yeah, he's on the back of a milk carton. Yeah, pretty much. He's doing a lot of. He's a truck driver, and he's been driving a lot lately, so he hasn't had a ton of time. When he gets back, I don't think he's usually back for more than a day or so. Just hadn't been able to get a lot of it. And probably a lot of it has to do with the fact that Oklahoma's eating shit right now. He would be on can you imagine the Sippin' Sooner rants right now? Damn, Sippin', if you're out there, shout out to Sippin' Sooner. Get your ass over here so we can get one of your rants. It would be fun. A lot of good. Listen, they're not going to get somebody in the middle of the season. I can tell you that. Not anybody that's got a current job, which is probably who you're after, right? Somebody that's killing it right now. Fired people, things like that. I mean, I guess you could maybe NFL guys that maybe got fired in the last few years. Okay, I could see that. But honestly, I don't really see. I don't know. And I'm not sure who I'm thinking of haven't really heard a ton of talk about guys that are coming from the NFL right now. I don't know. I think it's a wait and see kind of deal. I'm sure there's a bunch of guys that are on the list, and I'm sure there's a bunch of those guys that are reaching out to Oklahoma. So, you're going to have opportunities for sure. Sipping would be pouring more than 3 fingers. Yeah. He tells it like it is. I love Sipping Sooner, man. That's my dog. He's a trip. Came out of nowhere, man. All of a sudden, he was super popular. Love that guy. RJ was mentioning some NFL guys. I'm not a huge RJ guy, so I don't really watch him all the time. But I wouldn't be. That doesn't surprise. Look, I'm not saying that nobody from the NFL's coming. I'm just saying I haven't heard a bunch of those guys yet. Could you see it happening? Sure. That Cliff Kingsbury would be one of those guys I know a lot of people are going to bring up. I don't see it happening. I don't think, and as me personally, I don't want anybody with ties to Texas Tech right now. I just don't. I'm sick and tired of being Texas Tech North. I don't want that. So, my nuts on the line. Would I bet that BV is still here in 2026? With my nut, you're putting my nuts on the line, huh? It's kind of a dick move there, Bagman. Yeah, I think he will be. I think he will be. I think they make a good hire and they flip this thing around pretty fast. And I don't think that you have to. I don't even think that you have to be a great offense. I think you got to be a good offense, a serviceable offense. If they're a serviceable offense right now, they probably got one loss at the most. You know? Yeah, it depends on the hire. You think he's going to miss again? I don't. I just don't. I don't feel like there's a way you miss this one again. Not with not with your ability to play the NIL game. Not with that he's going to let you do your thing because he doesn't want to mess with the offense now. I think he'll be here in 2026. I hope he'll be here in 2026. If not, that means that you're headed in another direction. The one way I think that it wouldn't be that is if they can somehow talk Josh Heupel into taking the job. And I think that they would fire him this year for Josh. I'll just be honest. That's just an opinion. I'm not hearing anything like that. I'm just telling you, I think they would. That's the only way I see him gone by 26. No, it isn't, Orca. No, it isn't. His shelf life was up a long time ago, bruh. Shelf life was up a while ago. And all of our receivers will be back. Just watch, and BB is going to get his guys together. Look, man, we know that I think that you get a good coordinator. You can talk a guy. I mean, no, even if he doesn't end up being here very long, I would tell you this. Think about this for a second. The fact is, you're going to have a defense that's probably better than the one they got right now. Again, that just means that you don't have to go out there and average 40 a game. What you need to average is somewhere around 28, 30, and you ain't losing. I don't think I don't believe you on that. I think you're wrong. I think that Josh is an Oklahoma guy, and if they go after him with the right package, he leaves. I know a lot of people want to say that I don't think he's that pissed off anymore. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But guess what? Bob Stoops isn't there. It is what it is. Why do you need 50 a game, Purple Orca? Why? Yeah, I disagree sooner in Texas. I think that he might take the job. I don't know that he would, but he's an Oklahoma guy, man. The opportunity to be the head coach at the University of Oklahoma is bigger than Tennessee. It just is. Particularly for a guy that went to Oklahoma. It's bigger. Yeah, he's pissed at Bob, not really OU. Facts. I think if you're averaging 50, then you're probably not playing very good complementary football there, Orca. Just honestly. High 20s, you win with this defense. Correct. I think you're not playing as complementary as you want to at 50. But it is what it is. All right. Yeah. See, I mean, I think you would too. I think you would too. I think there's a reason why Tennessee fans are scared shitless about it too. When Oklahoma started, I mean, it felt like some of them were like, damn it, if we beat them, then it's bad. The South Dakota guy, he's okay. Bro, he went to OU. He's an Oklahoma guy. He won a national championship at OU. He's an Oklahoma guy. Stop it. Mm-hmm. And you know what? And I think he talked about that. I think that had none of that stuff happened with Josh, he wouldn't probably be in the position that he's in, because I don't know that you're in the right position to win the whole thing. If, let's say, he doesn't get fired, then he didn't have to learn anything from anywhere else. And I think that he's picked up a lot of stuff along the way. He'd tell you that, right? He's grown probably every stop. I think this is a great comment, by the way, Kimberly K. But I would tell you that at some point you probably can get some perspective about it. And I don't know that he ever forgives Bob Stoops for that. I don't know that he has to. Bob Stoops hasn't been the coach in 2 coaches now. He's not the coach anymore. So he's an opportunity to come back, take over the program. He loves them. I think it's going to be fine. But I'll just say this, and that's the other thing I was saying this to somebody the other day, was that, look, when it comes to Josh, he's also put a program together that has a defense. You know, we have Zach Alley. Sooner in Texas, you're starting to bug me now. You're just doing that shit to fuck with me. And I know you are, because you know I already said no Kale talk either. And so now you're doing the mediocre Mike thing. No. They're not going to fire him anyway. You know what? Somebody said something on Twitter today that had me laughing. That that Okie Light fans were ultra harsh on Mike Gundy and Casey Dunn and those guys, and we were being soft on Brent Venables and Seth Luttrell and all that. And I was like, what the fuck country or what world are you living in right now? No, they don't have more money. No, they don't. But I was like, what world do you live in? We're talking about an Okie Light program that's had this dude around for 20 years, and he's won 1 fucking conference championship, when they didn't have a conference championship game, or else he wouldn't have won it. He's gagged away every big game for 20 years, and he still has a job. There were people ready to fire Brent and Luttrell after the Temple game because they didn't score 100. Some funny ass shit. Yeah, you're working. You're accomplishing it there, Sooner in Texas. The D is going to be just fine. Yeah, I hadn't seen much from you there, Sooner Cowboys. But don't push it. Well, T Boomer Steven G, yeah, I just think we would have had guys to throw deep balls to. That's wrong. That's not correct, Bagman. You guys, at some point, you really ought to freaking make sure you have the right information, guys. I mean, you realize that they have the 4th best. They've put out more money wise than all but 3 other schools. 3. They're the 4th best NIL. They're one of the very first to get a general manager and a team like that together. That's not Dookie. You need to pay attention more. You got to pay more attention. Yes, talk to Kimberly K about the collective. Tennessee does not have a better collective. Just because they paid Nico $10 million, do they have a better collective? I'd say that's a worse collective. How has that worked out for anybody doing that? And I'm not sure that it's going to work out at Tennessee either. They still have to they still have to get a win on the road at Georgia. I get it that Josh has done a great job against Alabama. He has not against Georgia. It hadn't even really been close. Sooner Cowboys. Shush. Yeah. You guys are just wanting to do this, huh? All right. Well, we don't have to stay for much longer anyway, so moving along. All right. Let's see. What else? What else? I was looking. I'll be back in the morning for sure either way. Let's see. What y'all think about that stuff with Kenny Dillingham? That was weird. That was a weird deal. He apologized again, but he was talking crap about his kicker, right? Yeah. That was 2 weeks ago that he did that. And then after that, then they lost. Then they lost a game and his kicker missed too. So he had to apologize again. Dillingham really he like threw himself under the bus. He threw himself under the bus. That's some funny ass shit. That's not what Josh said. Not exactly the same as what you say all year. You repeat the same thing over and over, Sooner Cowboys. Stop acting like you're a Josh McCuistion. Come on, bruh. I think we do. Yeah, you're welcome to there, Legend. You're welcome to. Do you feel we have a pulse on offense this week? Yes, I do. I think it's all going to work itself out. Yeah. Sooner Brandon, good to see you, man. Glad to see you back in here. Hope to see you in here in the morning as well. It's funny that Sooner Cowboys, you don't be calling yourself Josh McCuistion, bro. Don't be comparing yourself to Josh McCuistion. Don't put yourself in the same sentence as Josh McCuistion, bro. Come on. Knock it off. Shit. I keep up with the University of Oklahoma money and a few others. Book an appointment. With Kimberly K. Indeed. Did you see where I'd put my email for you, Kimberly K, so that I could send you that? I'm going to put it back in there. Anybody can use it. So that way I can send you a ballot to vote for your top 25. No, that's actually not it. Wow, that was stupid. It's JW at HOF Media.us. Special. Feels like the off season already. Look, man, I would tell you that it kind of does. But if you look, I had a lot. Weren't you one of the people that just said they're going to win 3 out of the next 5, Orca? If they win 3 out of the next 5, that's not bad. That means 7-5. It's not great, but in comparison to what we're expecting right now, with the way they are, yeah, I don't know. You're on IG now. Oh yeah, nice. I'm on IG too. Cool. All right, cool. Yeah. So send me an email so that I can send you the ballot, please. You're down bad. Yeah. We're all kind of down bad right now. It's been rough. It's been a rough season. Look, though, again, can I sit here and bet on Oklahoma to be better down the stretch? No, I have to see it. And it concerns me. But I think there are some things that could happen that could help you win a little bit here, at least a couple of games. If you start getting a couple of these receivers back as you get down to like 3 games left, because Jalil Farouk, he can play the last 3 games and still keep his red shirt. Same thing, I guess it wouldn't be the same with Deion Burks. I don't think that can happen. But the rest of these guys, I mean, you're talking about Jaden Gibson coming back next year, possibly. Same with We hadn't really seen Andrew Anthony. He's talking about coming back next year too. Kind of is what it is. So I think that there's an opportunity that if you do get a little spark here, and again, it's nothing I'm betting on. You could get a little spark here, though, from this. Maybe if you get a little more harmony back there because they're not having any infighting or anything like that, maybe they come out and win a couple games. Maybe they win 3. We'll see. We'll see. Better now that Seth is gone is what you've heard from players. Really? Good. Well, we'll see, man. I hope so. I hope so. That would be big. Legend has that Sooner magic flowing all through him. That or something. That or gummies. I don't know. Something. A tax write-off. Yeah, there you go. And there you go. All right, folks. We've been going for about an hour and 45. Be back here in the morning on Rise and Shine College Football. Talk a little bit more about some of this stuff. But for tonight, we're going to go ahead and get out of here for now. Appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure you get over to JJ Kitchen's channel and subscribe to him. He does stuff all the time. Great show. A lot of ACC content. He's very good with ACC stuff particularly, and he knows a lot about coaches. He knows a lot about a lot of things that are going on within programs. I mean, he's got connections in a lot of places, man. He's a heck of a guy. One of the guys we like the most coming in here. Looking forward to getting back on in the morning. We hopefully getting a couple of guests coming up here in the near future. We'll keep on working on that. We're still working on it, but we'll have Legend in here tomorrow. Make sure you also get over to the Sooner Legend podcast and become a subscriber there as well. Coach Ricks, make sure you get over to Coach's Talk with Coach Ricks and do that as well. And man, we got a lot of guys that are doing great stuff out here. Obviously, Unfair Sports, Jay and Cooper killing it as usual. You guys already know that. You want Pitt in the Big 12 ASAP. He's going to tell you that shit ain't happening. But I'll just, go over there and talk to him about it. But yeah, look, I think that you look at it, there's a lot of stuff going on. But I would just say, what we got here? Did I just get a new sub? Awesome. Appreciate all the people for subbing. We've actually had, I want to take a look at this. We've had about 700 viewers in here so far, 44 likes. Yeah, we're still about 5%, guys. Make sure that you smash that like button for us on your way. And that's the free way. Don't be a freeloader. It's a free way to help, though. What is a darts retreat? He's everyone I've talked to wants it just because of Cincy and WVU every year. Yeah, I think so too. But I think I get that. I just don't see it happening. But what is your darkness retreat? Is it just we're talking about the darkness because Oklahoma's losing? Or, I mean, is this something we need to spend some time on here, Orca? You're not going to do anything silly, are you? If so, make sure you put a towel down, okay? Gotta stay 10 toes down. That's right. Forever sooner. Hey, man. Look. Sometimes you go through these things. Guys, I've said this before. You got to go through some shit sometimes. As a human, as a football team, as whatever. You got to go through some shit sometimes. Right now, we're going through some shit. But you always get better from it. You always get better from it. If what don't kill you makes you stronger, then that means they're going to be fine. Look, think about it. It shouldn't be that hard to flip this thing back around. You've got a lot of talent coming back. Just looking at what you have. If you bring one of these quarterbacks back, whoever this coordinator ends up being, they'll have an opportunity to go pick up somebody in the portal if they feel like they have to. But you don't necessarily have to. You get a guy look, who's to say you don't end up with there's a certain backup quarterback there at Oregon. Go get a guy like Will Stein. He might be coming with him. He was the other best quarterback in that Jackson Arnold class. I've seen him play. He can do it. look, we're going to wait and see what happens, but I'm not worried. I'm still not worried about Oklahoma's offense moving forward. I'm a little worried about them right now, but moving forward, I think they'll be fine. I think you have to. Hey, what was I supposed to say? I don't want to make it weird. I don't want to make it weird. Just go in the woods and smoke a lot of weed and ayahuasca. Orca, that's not a terrible, but I don't think you smoke ayahuasca. I think it's a drink. So put a towel down. Sorry. I couldn't help myself. That's hilarious shit. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here on that one. I appreciate everybody coming in. See you in the morning on Rise and Shine College Football. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. See you on the next one.